Hey, what's up everybody? Yoram here back with yet another tutorial. If you have seen any of my other videos, you might have seen one of these pop up. Well, these are very handy if you want to get people to like your video. And in today's video, I will show you how you can make one yourself in Adobe After Effects. Hey, a little disclaimer before we begin. I myself just started out doing YouTube and I'm in no way a professional editor. The main reason why I'm making this video today is because I would have loved seeing a video like this when I first tried to make a pop-up like the one you just saw. If you have any advice, please make sure to leave that in the comments and I'll be sure to check it out. And without no further ado, let's go! So today we're using a 4K composition that's 5 seconds long and the background color will pick something gray. So we'll start by going into the toolbar and take our rectangle. So with this rectangle tool we can make a base layer for our composition. Once we're happy with it, we can make sure everything is lined up to the center. So when that is done, we can give it a nice white color. And after that we will go into our shape layer and go to add. There we can add some round corners to our rectangle. Now the radius we can set that to somewhere around 60. When we have done all that, we can go into our projects folder and drag in our thumbs up and thumbs down images. So when we have these images loaded into our composition, we can then scale them to the right size and position them inside our base layer. So now we're gonna make a new layer by going back into our toolbar and select the text tool. With that we can put some text in between our thumbs. Once we have done that, we can give it a nice gray color so it doesn't blend in too much with the background. What we want to do now is make sure our thumbs up and thumbs down images are the same color as our text. The way to do that is by going into the Effects tab and select Color Correction. Once we have that open, we can look for Change to Color. This will give us the ability to pick a color and change it to something completely different. Then we will take the color picker and select the black from the image as the color we want to change from, and we'll set the gray from our text as the color we want to change to. After you've done that, you want to go to change and make sure you select, instead of only hue, you want to select hue, lightness and saturation. Otherwise it won't actually change anything. Now we can easily copy this effect onto the thumbs down image by using the Ctrl+C to copy and Ctrl+V to paste. So basically right now we have finished our base. Now we can go back into our projects folder and drag our cursor on top of the other layers. Once we have scaled this down to somewhat the size of a real cursor, we can start animating it, so it looks like it's actually hitting the thumbs up. For this animation we will start by zooming out a bit so we can drag the cursor out of the scene. Then we will go into the transformation tab and take the little time watch to place our first keyframe. Once we have done that, we will move something like 30 frames further in time by holding Ctrl on our keyboard and hitting the arrow keys, or you can just drag the blue cursor to the point where you want to place the second keyframe. Once you have done that, you can drag the cursor onto the thumbs up and this creates a line which the cursor will follow during the animation. Now we can copy the last keyframe to make sure the cursor stays where you left it for a few frames. And then we can copy the first keyframe so the cursor will return to its starting position at the end of the animation. And there we have it, our animation works like we intended it to. Now you might want to position the keyframes to your liking, whether you want to make the cursor go faster or slower, or maybe you want to let it stay on top of the thumbs up a bit longer. This is totally up to you. Now the last thing you can do to make your animation a bit smoother is go and select all the keyframes, and once you have done that you can hit F9 on the keyboard and this will smooth out your animation. So for the next part we'll go back into the toolbar and select the Ellipse tool. With this we can create a perfect circle around the thumbs up. After we have done that, we want to drag the layer right under the thumbs up layer and then give it a dark gray color. Then we will go into the saturation and set it to about 30%. This way it looks like the cursor is clicking on the like button. Next we want to scroll back into our timeline to the part where our cursor just hits the thumbs up button. So from that point we can animate the opacity of the ellipse we just created. We will set the opacity of the first keyframe to 0% and the second one to 30. Then again, we will copy the last one and the first one so the ellipse comes in and disappears just as the cursor will click on the button. And as you can see right here, our animation works. Right now we want to change the color from the thumbs up and the text from gray to blue when the cursor hits the thumbs up and the ellipse lights up. But because we also want to change the color of the text, we will have to go to the Effects tab and add a change of color effect. So now we will set the color to change from and the color to change to both to gray. So later we can easily animate it to go from gray to blue when the cursor hits the thumb. Also, make sure you don't forget to switch the change property from hue to hue, lightness and saturation. Otherwise, again, this won't work. When we have done all this, then we can go into the color change effect of the thumbs up button and animate it so that when the cursor just hits the thumbs up, the color changes to blue. Now you can do this by hitting the stopwatch right next to the change to property to put down a first keyframe. Then you will go further in time and put a second keyframe by changing the color to dark blue. And when we have done all this, then we can go back to the change to color effect from our text layer and we can take the whip and connect it to the one from the thumbs up. This will make sure that when the thumbs changes color, the text will change too. So right now our composition is basically finished, but for those of you who are still with me, thank you so much by the way, we will take it even a small step further. So for this we're going to add a second text layer and we'll type in there +1. Once we have done this, we will change its color to the same blue our thumbs up has after it changes. And after, you want to make sure your anchor point is centered inside your text layer. To do this, you can select your text and right click, then go to transform and click on center anchor point in layer content. And now that we have made sure everything is centered, we can go and edit the text layer to pop up. The animation I'm going to show you is a super easy one and can be used on a variety of objects while you're editing. So make sure you remember it for the next time you want to make something pop up. So let's go into our text layer and go to scale. We'll set our first keyframe to 0% and then go 5 frames further in time. And set the next one to 110%. Then we go again 5 frames and we'll put one at 90%. Then the last one will go again 5 frames further in time and give this one a value of 100%. Now you can ease all the keyframes by selecting them and hitting F9 on the keyboard. When you play it back, it looks like a really smooth pop-up. And now for the last time in this video, we will go into our projects folder and drag in a burst composition. This is a little burst you can add around the text layer while it's popping up, and this gives you a really nice finishing touch. If you don't know how to make a burst like this, you can just take mine, which I will link in the description. Once we have positioned the burst like we wanted, there rests us only one thing to do, and that is fade out the +1 text layer. This can be easily done by making 2 keyframes, one at 100% and the second one at 0%. So that was it for this video. I hope everything was clear and you're happy with the end result. If you like this video or you learned something, please consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of the future content. And with that said, thank you so much for watching and on to the next one.